Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of the Men of Steel podcast where we talk about Superman and Superman adjacent topics. If you enjoy this clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your shows. Yeah, so we're talking about it's almost interesting that DC even bothered to do this. So after the death of Superman, they had several issues, and there's a lot of Superman books at this time. We've talked about this before. There's technically 5, although one I think launches. I think one launches with the return of Superman. So I guess it's 4 at this point. But that's still 4 books that were just straight up crossing over every single month. You basically needed to be reading all 4 books to understand what was going on in any of them, especially when big things happened, like say your main character dies. So it's 2 issues for each book, plus then a couple side stories that were included in this trade. But it's really interesting that DC even bothered to be all right, yeah, we're gonna have an issue where it's just oh shit, Metropolis is fucked up. Let's deal with collateral damage. And oh shit, the Justice Leaguers are going to come together and read Christmas cards that were sent to Superman and all this stuff. It's a wild set of events when you really stop to think about it. But it gets completely subsumed in terms of the zeitgeist by obviously the big fight that with Doomsday that kills him, and then immediately following this we get the return of Superman, the reign of the Supermen, the 4 imposters that show up after right after this. And honestly, you could skip this and be fine, in terms of the big beats, you get it. we all get it, right?
Yeah,
there's even a whole snatch him away and then return him to the grave kind of story that
it's a filler episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it's interesting filler, and it's character filler, it's really interesting having time with Lana and Lois hugging each other and dealing with the fact that they're both experiencing the grief of Clark's loss. So that's really cool. They're them kind of dealing with do we talk about the secret identity of Superman to the larger world? That's cool. I like some time being spent with Supergirl, which is not what we would really be getting that much at this point in time. Prior to this, really, Supergirl has always been the main other member of the Superman family. Now, this is the weird Supergirl. This is Matrix.
I was going to say not the Supergirl I would have chosen, but sure.
Right, yeah. It's a weird era for this character, but there's certainly a period where it's okay, Superman's gone, so Supergirl has to pick up the pieces. That's classic Superman story stuff. Going back to not Just Imagine. That's the Stan Lee thing. The imaginary story where Luthor kills Superman and Supergirl then flies in and has to take over for him. So there's definitely classic beats going on here. So much so that the issue of Action Comics that focuses on Supergirl is a direct homage to Action Comics number 1.
Oh, the cover. I love that.
Yeah, on the cover. So, well, on the cover and actually in the events, because she chases down a car.
That's
so
true,
it actually
yeah.
it actually matches up fairly well in that regard. But so we're going to kind of talk through issue by issue, because I think each one is trying to do okay, here's all the aftermath pieces before we get to the next story. And I think there's a lot of interesting things going on with it all. Remember, if you like the clip, after you're done liking and subscribing, check out certainpov.com, where you can find more episodes of the show, as well as a ton of other great shows.